Yeah. Good evening, everyone, and hope you are staying safe and healthy. The IEEE Women in Engineering Affinity Group Bangalore section and the IEEE IC student branch welcome you to their celebration of the International Day of Yoga, which is held on June 21st every year. And we have a talk being delivered by Dr. S.N. Omkar, who is with the Department of Aerospace Engineering, Indian Institute of Science. And he will be talking about yoga for stress management, and which is very important for us incorporating it in our lives and in our routine in these pandemic affected times. So I would like to first talk about IEEE, which is the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers. For those of you who don't know, it is the world's leading technical professional organization, and it organizes a lot of conferences, leading conferences, and is a publisher of leading journals in many areas. It's got over 40 technical societies, and I'm sure you'll find something that interests you if you check their official website, that is ieee.org. So, for those of you at IISc, if anyone is interested in joining the IISc, IEEE IISc student branch, you can reach out to me. I'll leave my email ID in the chat box, and I would invite Jayasudha ma'am, who is the secretary of the Women in Engineering Affinity Group, to briefly talk about WIE.
Thank you, Aditya. A very good evening to all of you. Myself, Jayasudha, Secretary Women in Engineering, IEEE Bangalore section. Firstly, I would heartily welcome you all to this event. IEEE Women in Engineering, as you all know, is the largest professional technical organization dedicated to promoting women engineers and scientists and inspiring girls around the world to follow their academic interest to a career in engineering. We at IEEE Bangalore section, under the leadership of Ms. Anandi Giridharan, we organize a number of events to support women professionally as personally as well. Glad that today we have collaborated with IISc Bangalore to host this event. We also have with us Mr. Bindu Madhava, Chair IEEE Bangalore section. Hearty welcome to you, sir. I also welcome all the participants here for this event on behalf of Women in Engineering IEEE Bangalore section. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I'll briefly talk about Dr. S.N. Omkar, his achievements, and I'll introduce him to you, and which will be followed by his talk. So, Yoga Ratna Dr. S.N. Omkar is a popular name in the field of yoga and is a visionary personality and is passionately practicing and doing research in the field of yoga for more than 4 decades. He is a direct disciple of Padma Vibhushan Yogacharya Dr. B.K.S. Iyengar and an ardent follower of the principles and philosophy of sage Patanjali. With an academic accreditation of BE Mechanical, MSc Engineering, PhD in Aerospace Engineering, he's currently he's working as a chief research scientist at the Indian Institute of Science, Department of Aerospace Engineering. He has also established yoga and biomechanics lab to conduct research in the field of yoga. He has published several journal papers in the field of yoga. Dr. S.N. Omkar conducts regular yoga classes, therapy classes, Surya programs, yoga camps, yoga courses, yoga research, and he's conducted more than 5,000 yoga programs in mass media like television and All India Radio, spiritual satsangs, guest lectures, and has authored several yoga related books and DVDs. Dr. Omkar?
Yes, Namaste. I bow down to the very Lord Ishvara in you all. I thank the IEEE Women's Cell for giving me an opportunity to address you all on this issue of stress management. So before we talk about the management of the stress, first we should find out what is the etiology of this stress. So there are some people who say stress is a friend. If there is no stress, nobody will work. You will not achieve anything. And some say that it is a envy, and several modern diseases are attributed to stress. So we need to first look at whether it is a friend or foe, or is it just a myth? That is what we have to look at. And what Patanjali says. Now we are limiting ourselves to the kind of stresses that we all go through. I mean, at least some people think that they go through the stress because of their interactions with whatever. So we will see what really is the principal cause of the stress and what is the solution that Sage Patanjali proposes. Well, first thing is, categories of people. We get across only 4 categories: those who are more privileged than us, those who are less privileged than us, those who are more virtuous than us, and those who are non-virtuous. So these are the kind of people that we come across. Of course, equal privileged, well, there's no point. It all goes well hand in hand, so nothing to discuss. So the interaction, if it happens with someone who is more privileged or less privileged, more virtuous, non-virtuous, I think what goes on, that is what we need to examine. So here what it is, actually what we call as Arishad Vargas: Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. That is some sort of a desire we always have. Then if the desire is not met, it can result in anger, Krodha. And even if it is met, then you can get into delusion, Moha. Then even if you acquire, you can get Lobha. Lobha is greed. Then once you possess, you can have Madha, ego, pride. And if you don't get it, you can have Matsarya, avarice. So that's why these are the classical Arishad Vargas. Now you look at, suppose if we do not have these Arishad Vargas, will there be something called stress? For example, I don't have any desire. Well, this does not mean we don't work. So one of the argument that goes is, okay, if there is no desire, why should you work, and no progress will be there? Our GDP will go down. All that is not correct. See, the way or the art of working is what we have to look at. That is what Lord Krishna also says as yogaha karmasu kaushalam. What does that mean? If you can work without attachment to the fruits, then that is called skillful action. But what happens is we always run after some results. We always want something to be, in terms of possession. So that's what we call kama, especially when you see someone who is more privileged than us, that disturbs us. First thing is, it creates moha. We get deluded. Oh, he has so much. I don't have anything. See, if I have just a small car, let us say Maruti 800, it's okay. As long as my neighbor does not get a Benz car, I am okay. But if he gets a Benz car, neighbor means it can be relative or colleague, whoever, then I get disturbed. Then the possibilities are that if someone is more privileged, we become deluded. Then karma will increase. You compare with someone else, then you compete, then you crash. See, that's what all the stress, that's how it begins. Sangat sanjayate kamaha, kamat krodho vijayate. So that's Bhagavad Gita, what Krishna also says. Krodhat bhavati sammohaha, sammohat smriti vibramaha, smriti bhramshat buddhinasho, buddhinashat pranashyati. So that will lead to disaster, that is distress. Suppose we, this thing happen, you see, we look at, see, if my son or daughter fails in mathematics, well, if my neighbor or whatever relative, their son or daughter also fails in maths, means we have no problem. Both of us will sit together and talk that the teaching is not good, the evaluation is not good. But if my son and daughter fail, and if their son or daughter gets 100 out of 100, then all the problem will come. This is what we see because of this comparison. And we also meet people who are underprivileged, who are not as privileged as we are. In such cases, it is possible that you develop mada, pride. Oh, I have this, they don't have. Remember, we are not just comparing only money, anything, any of the other things, possessions, positions, all these things can create a sense of pride in us. And well, this is also another, people, they don't get into stress because they want more money, because they want more power also, they get into stress. And if some underprivileged people approach us, then we develop that lobha because we are worried, oh, they may ask us something. Lobha is that greediness. We will look at these things. Then we also come across people who are more virtuous than us. Somebody may be more talented than me. For example, one of my colleague may get promotion ahead of me. Then suddenly what happens? There is the development of matsarya, avarice. That is the first thing that develops. Then the sight of him will create some sort of anger also, krodha. They are associated. So we don't really appreciate them. Then we also meet non-virtuous people. People who comment on us, who criticize us for good reason or bad reason, that is different. And by looking at them, we develop anger, krodha. So this is the interaction. So we should recognize that these are the actual stressors. Kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. As long as these things are playing in us, stress will be there, no matter whatever is the environment. Whether you are working for an organization or whether you are just at home, it does not matter. It's a question of these Arishad Vargas, how much of these tendencies are embedded in us. That is the key. I'll give one example how people that, that sort of example, if we also can decide to lead a life of simplicity, then there are a lot of things that you can do. See, you don't have to work in an environment which is suffocating and keep complaining about that. But it's good, even if the people who run that organization also learn about these things, it's good. But for anyone, most people, they want to run hard because they want to earn more and more and more. That's the trap. There are people who have lived life of utter simplicity. Well, Mahatma Gandhi ji, for example, he was traveling in third class compartment in train. For him, anybody would have got him a ticket for first class. He was so simple. he was always traveling with a third class ticket. Those days there were first class, second class, third class. So once in a railway station, some press people asked him, Gandhiji, why are you traveling in third class compartment? For which his answer was, that is because railways have still not introduced fourth class compartment. That's what he said. Which means if you adopt a simple life, then in life you don't have to really run too hard. Then the question will come, oh, if I don't run, then what happens to country's progress? No, country's progress will happen better if we all start working without all these basic stressors. These basic stressors have come up because we want more and more and more. We want to compare. If my whomever, my Paul has something better than me, then I want to become better than him. So this is the basic cause. This is what we should recognize. So these are inherent problems in us. This is what is disturbing us. These Arishad Vargas, they keep disturbing us. Oh, this is the popular stress curve which people use. Performance will keep increasing. There is something called as optimum stress, and that should be there. And they say that too little stress, you become inactive, as if Gandhi ji had a lot of stress, Lal Bahadur ji had a lot of stress, Lord Krishna had a lot of stress. No. See, it is the purpose for which we work. That is very, very important. So because of this Kama, Krodhas, etc., all these things, concepts have come. You keep on loading, and they call it as optimal stress. So this is, they call the left side of the curve, they call it as eustress. Right side, they call it as de-stress. You get into burnout. And these different nomenclatures, concepts have come up. What we should understand first is stress by itself is negative. There is nothing called a bad smell is a bad smell. There is nothing called as good bad smell, bad smell. No. Therefore, we should realize that stress is actually is a myth. There is absolutely no need for stress, and when stress itself is not there, management of stress really does not come there. In fact, what we should manage is, we should manage the Arishad Vargas in us, the Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. This we should manage properly. Now, where all you have this? So for it, we should look at the SWOT analysis. Is it possible for us? What are our strengths? Our strength should be willingness to be happy and calm. That strong resolve should be there. In fact, all our whatever we do is, we want to be happy. We want to enjoy a peace of mind. I think all of us. I don't think if somebody says, okay, I will give you the offer of a CEO here, some millions dollar per annum, but you cannot have peace of mind, I don't think anybody will accept. All of us want peace of mind. There is no doubt. And in fact, whatever we have been doing, each one of us, is to ensure that we live happily. Somebody said, okay, you have to study so that you live happily. Then graduation, why? Okay, you can live happily. Therefore, you did get you do MTech or whatever, MBBS, whatever. Why? You can live happily. When? Later. Then some sort of a job, you should get that this is where prospects are very high, so that you can earn more. Why? You can live happily. When? Later. Then marriage, why? You can be happy. Then children, why? you can be happy, then children's education, etc., etc. If they become that, this, then I will be happy. So happiness gets postponed very, very easily. Then grandchildren, like that, happiness keeps postponing. And well, a time will come when people have assembled in front of the house. The day would have come. So it's quite possible that you spend the whole life without actually enjoying happiness, without being peaceful at all, always in pursuit of something. Why? That is called karma. You always want something more, something more, something more, something more. So our weakness, strength is we can all resolve to be happy. And Patanjali's yoga system, and of course many darshanas are there, they all have shown the exact path, a fail-safe path where each one of us can realize that state of peace of mind without compromising the efficiency. Please remember, it should be noted, because whenever we talk about these things, we should not have any of these things, desire and things. The first question people ask is, oh, if we have no desire, then why will we work? Why will you not work? If you have a correct definition of your life, a higher goal for life, we work. But we set goals which are selfish. That is where all the sufferings will come. And when you become selfish, our weakness, what is our weakness? Arishadvargas, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, they will play. As long as they play, you cannot avoid any stress. Then what are the threats we often feel? The family, the office, work, colleagues, other relationships, whatever, all these things, because you don't know, because these days everywhere there is some sort of a inner fight, some sort of turbulence. Go to office, there's some turbulence. Families, there are plenty of turbulence. People think, especially in the days of COVID, many people have run into psychological problems because of isolation. You don't know how to spend, because the family has never sat together and spent time. This fellow is busy, that fellow, the spouse is also busy, everybody is busy, children are busy with their studies, and there is no interaction. If they meet for 5 minutes, they don't know what to talk. There is no material to discuss. Even if they discuss some rubbish things which will increase kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, that is what is going to be discussed. How many families get together and discuss maybe some Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavata or any such good things which will enrich the inner personality, which will help to thin down these Arishadvargas? How many of us discuss? Now that is why I call this as the threats, because different people, a lot of compatibility issues will come up. This isolation, people should really, if they use well, then there could be a big transformation. We talk of isolation. How much of isolation? We have a lot of things. We have internet, mobiles, telephones. We can talk to people. Today, thanks to all these online platforms, well, without going or traveling anywhere, we can have live discussions. Nelson Mandela, he was in exile for 27 years, of which 18 years he was in a cell. He was a 6-footer, and his cell dimension was some 6 foot by 5 foot, with only one window, only one bucket was there, that was his toilet, and he has to spend 18 long years there. He did not complain, and afternoon he had to go to work in a quarry in the hot sun. His vision had come down, but he did not lose the spirit. He himself has written in his autobiography, A Long Walk to Freedom. He says that every morning he never missed exercising. He used to do some 100 sit-ups, then spot jogging, and about 1.5 hours he used to spend like that with good spirit. And whenever he had time, He requested some small sheets of paper. He was hardly able to get that, and he used to write something. So that's what he has compiled and published. Then he became the president. Well, we all know that. But it is what makes is that attitude. That is what I'm saying. Otherwise, everything is a threat. I know a lot of people, who hesitate to come home early because they don't know how to spend time. So these threats we should now handle. Well, then the opportunities are in today's world plenty. The availability of a lot of great teachers, guides, good online teaching is possible, coaching is possible. There are a lot of things that are available. In the right direction, we should look at. So we should try to look at the SWOT analysis we should do. We should have a strong willing. Yes, each one of us are strong enough to make this resolve, to overcome the weaknesses, to handle the threats. Handling the threat means not running away. Please remember, running away is called irresponsibility. Handling the threats is the strength. Then a lot of opportunities are there. We should make use of all those things. Then it is possible to overcome this stress. Overcoming means actually then only you can really know that this is a myth. There is nothing called stress, provided you know how to lead your life without these Arishad Vargas. Here comes the statement of sage Patanjali in the Samadhi Pada, chapter 1. Well, sage Patanjali has written 196 terses or aphorisms called Yoga Sutras in 4 chapters, where he discusses threadbare the nature of the mind, how this must be handled, how to analyze this, how to control this, how to ensure that all the negative impressions are removed so that you can attain that bliss or ananda. And in one of the sutras, he talks about how should we handle the relationships, what we talked about, whether it is family or friends, colleagues, relations, everything. So he says we have to develop Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekshanam, Sukha, Dukkha, Punya, Punya, Vishayanam, Bhavanat, Chitta Prasadanam. Chitta Prasadanam means the tranquility of the mind. How does it come? Tranquility. He says, you develop Maitri, loving friendliness, with whom? Sukha, people who are more privileged than you. Develop a loving friendliness. Then Karuna, compassion. Develop compassion with whom? With those who are dukkha, underprivileged than you, who are in pain, who are in suffering, who are in distress. Then mudita. Mudita means learn to be delightful or appreciative of whom? Of people who are punya, who are good, who are virtuous than you. Then upeksha. Upeksha means equanimity. Don't get disturbed with such people. Equanimity or indifference. Upeksha. With whom? Apunya, with bad, evil, or non-virtuous people. So if you develop this bhavana within you, then you will enjoy chitta prasadana, equanimity of the mind. If you are, then what will happen if you start doing this, then automatically the correction will come, and the kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya in us gradually decrease. So this is what should happen. In the implementation, what we should do, we should, if anyone is doing better than us, or is possesses more than us, he wields more power or more money and such other things, we should develop loving kindness with loving friendliness with such people. That is very important. Otherwise, Perhaps you remember, it show you what, otherwise what happens, more privilege, you develop kama, krodha, moha. So all that will spoil us, because um, uh, once you develop any sort of moha, delusion or kama with such people, and if you do not get, because normally if someone is has more power than us, we develop some sort of attachment with them, and we will have some desire, can I get this, that done from him? And if he does it, fine. If he does not do that, then we get into krodha. We become angry with him. Oh, he has power, but still he doesn't want to help me. This Sir M. Vishveshwaraya, when he became Diwan of Mysore, he called his mother and other relatives and told them apparently that Maharaja has offered me the post of Diwan. I will accept it provided none of you will approach me for some personal favors. Very important. Otherwise, what happens? People will start misusing his power, and if he does not gratify them, then they develop anger towards that person. And in fact, one of his relatives writes to him that you are a Diwan, one letter of recommendation will give me 50 rupees increment, because he was also in a government service, and please do so, because I need it. That yes, he needed, because he had that kind of difficulty at home. So Vishweshwarya has said, I will not do that recommendation, I will not do, but 50 rupees I will give you from my salary every month. So this is what he did. Well, there are several such people. So we should remember. So when you have somebody who is more privileged, you have developed a loving friendliness with such people. Then with people who are underprivileged, we should develop karuna, compassion. So you should feel, that's what called as the empathy. We should empathize with such people. If someone is actually suffering, you should empathize with such people. And this, today, compassion meditation has become popular. As you all know, that we have something called as memory neurons in us. You please look at the work of Professor Ramachandran, who is a very well recognized neuroscientist. What really happens is that they have done a lot of experiments when on monkeys and as well as humans. They have actually looked at the pain receptors in the brain of the monkeys, and one of the monkeys, they implanted the electrodes into the brain, and there was an opposite monkey for which also electrode is put. The opposite monkey is actually pricked, so it got pain. The monkey which was opposite, which was simply seeing, also generated the same signal in the brain, the pain signal. So this is what they call as the compassion neurons or the memory neuron. And well, Ramachandran also calls it as Dalai Lama neurons. And if we develop this compassion, it is good for our health. That's the actually the basis of these experiments. Otherwise, you are resisting what is natural, what is nature. So we should develop this karuna, compassion for those who are needy or underprivileged. For example, in conditions like this COVID, a lot of people are troubling. If you have something, yes, share with them. And it is not necessarily money, physical labor. It can be shared in terms of the physical labor, whatever. Now, when Mahatma Gandhi ji practiced these things very well, when Babu Rajendra Prasad was also the president of our country, when he first went to Gandhiji's Sabarimati Ashrama, they didn't know. Then Gandhiji said, the first task I will give you is you have to clean the toilets of leprosy people. That was the task. And well, it was done. See, so this helps to develop that kind of a compassion. Then you have to develop mudita. There are virtuous people. There can be someone who is more, there are in fact someone who are better talented, more talented than us. And when we come across such people, generally what happens, you remember, if we find more virtuous people, first thing we develop is the matsarya. Oh, how can he be greater than me? That's what we develop. And then anger will also come. We see this in, of course, this is very, very common in the workplaces where if someone is more virtuous, there is always problem we don't tolerate, and especially if someone is more virtuous or talented or better than the boss, then he will have it. So this is the kind of problem. But we see a lot of such instances. In fact, very popular, you know, the story which Abdul Kalam used to always say. When Satish Dhawan was the chairman for the this SLV mission in Sriharikota, Abdul Kalam was the project head. And when the SLV-1, when they launched it, a lot of publicity, all the, including the Prime Minister, then Prime Minister, they were all watching. So it was a big show. And well, they switched on the computer, and Abdul Kalam asked the scientists, should we go? They said, okay, we can go. They pressed. And just before 4 seconds to fire, there was some glitch. Then Kalam asked the scientists what to do. They said, okay, let's go, no problem. They went, and it just went and fell in the sea. So it was a very disappointing moment for all the great scientists. So then the press was there. So all the press came. There was a press conference to be addressed. They wanted to talk about the failures. Then Satish Dhawan told Abdul Kalam, don't worry, I will go to the press. As a chairman, I need to tell them. So he went to the press and then told them, yes, we have failed. We are going to resolve this. We'll do that. Failures are inevitable. And as a chairman, I will take the complete responsibility of this failure. That's what he said. Then he came and encouraged all the scientists. He did not blame. He said, okay, these things happen. Please let us go ahead and do it. Then in another less than a year, there was another launch which was successfully done. The whole world actually looked at India because of that. And the press again gathered, and Satish Dhawan called Abdul Kalam. He said, as a project director, please go and address. So this is what, you see, when there was failure, he took it on his shoulders. When it was success, he just gave it to his subordinates. So this is, we should appreciate whatever. Then what happens is the mind becomes very light and delightful. So then there won't be any matsara or krodha. Matsara and krodha, if they are not there, then that leads to peace of mind. Then we have non-virtuous people. Toward non-virtuous people, you have to develop that equanimity or indifference, upeksha. They simply comment. See, you can't help. Who is free of comment? Lord Krishna is condemned. There are a lot of comments on Swami Vivekananda also. When he came from abroad, a lot of comments were there on him also. Well, to such things, you must be developing an attitude of equanimity and indifference. So any comments are there, criticism are there, we have to just analyze. We have to see is there any merit in their comment. We have to analyze, and then okay, if there is merit, we need to correct, and if there is nothing, we can just let go. Otherwise, we develop krodha against such people. And if we develop anger, it's actually we are hurting our own self, because the moment you have any of this kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, lot of neurotransmitters will be released inside the brain, hormones in the brain, they will be released. And this pituitary gland, this is endocrine gland, which will release hormones into directly the bloodstream. And once it is released, they affect any system or organ within our own cell. So health is also at risk. That is why stress causes a lot of health problems. In fact, many of the problems of modern day is originated in the stress. But we should remember, stress per se doesn't exist. It is our weakness called kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya that creates this. So we should know how to handle. If somebody comments, okay, let it go. Examine whether there is any substance in what they are saying. If there is something that helps you to correct yourself, correct and thank them. And if there is nothing to correct, then just let it go. Be indifferent to such things. It's called upeksha. Otherwise, we become anger. As Lord Buddha says, anger is like carrying a burning charcoal in the hand with the intent of throwing it at someone, and without realizing that you yourself are getting burned. That's the thing. So anger is so dangerous. Not only anger, any of these Arishad Vargas are dangerous. So if we know how to handle these Arishad Vargas, then the stress will not be there. So we should remember, in all our relationships, be it be family, spouse, children, office, colleagues, the friends, relations, wherever, whatever is our outwardly relationships, if we know how to handle through this methodology, Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upeksha, Sukha, Dukkha, Punya, Punya, Vishayana, Bhavana, Chitta Prasadanam, then Chitta Prasadana, or tranquility of the mind, automatically gets established. And with that tranquil mind, if we work, we are going to be more efficient. Because when Arishad Vargas are not there, then there is no question of stress. When there is no stress, we actually work the best. Only when there is stress, the efficiency gets decreased. There is nothing called good stress or bad stress. Stress is stress. And stress will be there as long as we have these Arishad Vargas. So we should get rid of these Arishad Vargas. That is why we should do our SWOT analysis. We should look at our strength. Strength is all of us are equally eligible to enjoy peace of mind no matter what happens. Secondly, the weakness, you should remember, weakness is not our work pass or any such things. It is inherent Arishad Vargas, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. Threats will be there, well, from family, friends, everywhere. We should know how to handle that carefully. Then opportunities are plenty, and especially these kind of webinars, etc. will often, if you keep hearing, then it's possible that we can overcome. But it is not going to happen with one lecture or any such things. It has to be, a continuous analysis. We should keep doing. We should take an audit of the disturbance in the mind, or what you may call as the stressors in the life, and go to the root of these things and try to minimize such things through this scheme Patanjali has given. So it is we should practice. Nothing comes free of cost. There is no free lunch here. Everything takes that practice. Satu dirgha kala nairantarya Satkara sevito dridha bhumihi. Only through constant and steady practice, these things are possible. We are all eligible for that great bliss. And if we follow that steadily, then the condition of stress can be reversed. So this is what the final statement is. Stressed spelled backwards is deserts. Deserts is something that we enjoy. So through the yogic principle. So yogic principle, please remember, need not be doing some asana and pranayama, because people come and ask, oh, I am stressed. Is there any one yoga posture or some breathing which will help? No doubt they will help, but they cannot solve your problem, because the problem that exists are deep inside the chitta, called these Arishad Vargas. Unless we overcome these negative traits in us, it is not possible. No asana or pranayama can simply help. They will help. They are support systems, but by themselves, they cannot remove the stress. So we should go inside, the analyze our own weakness and use our strength to overcome these weakness. Then in life we can enjoy deserts in and through the constant joy, even when you are working, not just the result, and not getting attached to the result. That is called yoga karmasu kaushalam. Karmanyevadikaraste ma paleshu kadachana. It does not mean you don't take the fruit. It means that don't get attached to the fruit. Even when you are working, don't keep on imagining, oh, what will happen, what will happen. Because that's the problem with the mind. Mind is never in the present. It just goes either to the worries of the past or anxieties of the future. Even when, as simple as when there is an exam and you are reading, let us say, oh, do I get 95? Do I get 100? What will happen? Oh, if I don't get this mark, if my friend gets more marks, if such anxieties are there, you become less efficient. Okay, this exam is there, mathematics, I must learn it well. Whatever is the syllabus, I must get it well, and I should perform to the best of my abilities. Results, let it come. Whatever results are results, because whether you get first rank or second rank or whatever position you get, that depends upon many things. So we should believe in our free will effort and leave the result as a fate. So this is what we do. This is like voting in an election. Election, you may judge, okay, for this and this reason, intellectually you can decide this candidate is good. You put your vote to that candidate, but you cannot expect that candidate to win, because it depends upon the number of votes and whoever votes for him. So all that is there. So that is how life is. So we must understand this aspect and overcome these weaknesses that we have, so that the condition of stress gets virtually reversed, and in reality we have the joy of deserts in our life. Then stress is a myth. It does not exist. It just exists in our minds, that too because of kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. They are the 6 pillars which hold the stress. If you get rid of them, then stress has no place, and stress is definitely a myth, and you can have that perennial joy of life. So namaste. Thank you all. If you have any questions, we can discuss, and thanks for giving this opportunity. Namaste. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Dr. Omkar. Please, anyone has questions, we can go ahead and directly ask Dr. Omkar. You can either speak your question out or you can type it in the chat window.
Okay.
In case no one has any questions, I have one, sir. So
Okay.
when do we draw a line exactly between like the actions that we take?
Hmm.
So where should we draw the line in deciding whether, like, for example, whether we want to be indifferent to someone? So where should that line be drawn
So
if it
then,
is?
you see, if some criticisms or comments come, very easy. Whether that criticism on whatever you have done, does it hold water? Does it hold any content, any worth? That's it. If there is no worth in it, okay, be indifferent, neglect, upeksha. If there is any content, accept it. You may thank. So in any case, don't be angry. That's most important. Anybody comments or criticizes, what really happens is that we immediately, spontaneously we respond. If somebody says, hey, your lecture is nonsense, then I will say, oh, what nonsense? What are you talking? I have prepared that, this. No, not necessary. If somebody says nonsense, okay, good, sir. Anything you have, I'll listen to the comments, criticism. If sometimes, if non-virtuous people may unnecessarily comment something, be indifferent. If there is anything worth, take it. In any case, no anger. That's the attitude we should develop.
Thank you, sir. There is one question in the chat window from Ms. Sandhya Vasudev. How to handle fear of rejection?
Why there should be fear? Why should there be fear? See, because we have some attachment to that something should be accepted. If that is there, then fear of rejection will come. If the karma for acceptance is there, then fear of rejection will be there. In the first place, there is no karma. For example, if I have to do, let us say I submit some proposal to a project to some agency, I will do it sincerely. Okay, this is my expertise. I will do it. So I put the best of my effort without being anxious about, oh, this project should come. If it comes, I will become famous. If it comes, I will get so much money. I can do that. No, nothing. I want to, sir, there is no selfish motive. I do it with a complete humility, with best of my uh, ability. I submit. For whatever reason, they can reject it or they can accept it. Then I will have no fear of rejection, because in the first place I had no that karma or expectance of the fruits that this should be accepted. No. So this origin is that this karma itself. So if you don't have that, then fear, there is no question of fear that will come. Fear come only when you have attachment. The source of all the fear is that. If you are not attached, then there is no cause for fear.
Thank you, sir. I don't see any other questions. Please, attendees, if you have any, you can type those in.
That is good.
Last call. Yeah, there's one more from Ms. Sandhya. How to
Okay.
differentiate between healthy and unhealthy competition in terms of stress?
See, what is, first of all, competition? When are you in a competition? We should decode this. Suppose I am running. If my decision is that I will run to the best of my ability, that is all. So I keep running. If my perspective is that, oh, this fellow is taking over me and I should beat him, then there is competition. Both will yield the same result. And if my perspective is that, oh, he is running, he may overtake me, if I have that, then there is a fear, because I have that perspective that I should win. So then my efficiency will come down. On the other hand, if I decide, well, I will do my best, then there is nothing called competition. I am doing my best. And when am I doing my best, there is absolutely no issue of competition. And when there is no competition, when you are not even competing, there is no healthy and unhealthy. That issue, that question itself will not come up, isn't it? Because it's all with the perspective. That's why the Lord Krishna's Karma Yoga, that is Karmanye Vadikaraste Mahapaleshu Kadachana, is an excellent tool. It's a great psychological tool if we implement properly. Because modern thinking is totally different. Oh, go for the kill, dream, aim. See, that perspective should change. Our aim, yes, if you are in a competition, yes, I should do best to the country. Long, 100 meter, let us say 400-meter run, I should do best so that the country gets name. That's it. I don't keep anything else. And I will do my best. If you start, oh, I should go there, if I win that gold medal will come, then national flag will be there, Prime Minister will congratulate, President will congratulate, otherwise whole media will blame me, all that. If that comes, then you are worried. I should tell you, Jesse Owens in 1936, he went for the Berlin Olympics. At that time, there was racism was highest. He was a black person, and Hitler was with the helm of the affairs there. He did not even look at these people. He was going for a long jump trials. Jesse Owens jumped once, it was a fall. Second, he jumped, it was also a fall. There was only one jump remaining. Then he was worried. Then there was one German called Lutz Lang, who was also a long jump competitor. In fact, he was the supposed to be the winner. Rather, he was projected as the gold medalist of the long jump. He came, he put his hand on the shoulders of Jesse Owens and told him, Jesse, you seem to be worried. Don't worry. My name is Lutz Lang. I am also your competitor. But I'll tell you one thing. You are going little ahead. Just I'll put this towel slightly behind that mark. You think that this is the mark and then jump. You are doing well. Don't worry. Then he did that and he cleared the trials. Next day in the finals, actually, Jesse Owens got gold medal. Lutz Lang got silver medal. This incident is recorded in the histories of Olympics, and even today we remember Lutz Lang because of his, appreciating somebody's talent. That is the essence. And even today we remember Lutz Lang. Lutz Lang has simply won gold medal that day. Nobody would have remembered Lutz Lang today. So, what is it? What perspective we develop for all this competition is the key issue. If you are not attached to the fruit, actually you will do the best. But unfortunately, even in cricket world, I keep saying, because I was involved in coaching these cricket teams, so the sledging, etc. People think that okay, it is a way of sports. No, not really. You don't need to do all such things. As long as you know that okay, you're playing for the country, you do your best, then there is no stress. There is no competition. Somebody is good one day, he will win. You will lose, or the other way around. But it's all a healthy way of handling things. So attachment to the fruit, that can cause a lot of problem. That is where competition comes comparison comes, that is where people crash.
Thank you, sir. That was a great example that you gave. The next question is from Dr. Annapurna. Fear of survival in these difficult times. How to handle this, sir?
This is a big question. Yeah. Fear of survival. You see, this is Patanjali talks about 5 kleshas we all suffer. That is the root cause of suffering. Patanjali says is avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, abhinivesha, kleshaha. In which I think this question pertains to abhinivesha, or the fear of losing our possessions, especially fear of losing this body. That is called fear of death. In fact, fear of death is the mother of all fears. I'll have to overcome this. That's a good question. The simplest answer is we all know that this body is not permanent. We all know. Statistically also, we know that we don't see anybody living forever. As far as the body is concerned, this is subjected to Shadvikaras. Tishtate, Jayate, Vardate, Viparinamate, Apakshiyate, Mriyate. This body comes into existence in the womb of the mother, then it is born, then it grows, then it starts changing, then it starts declining, then it will die one day or the other day. So this is the system. We all statistically also know. You see, so Vivekananda in his Raja Yoga he says very well, kings die, queens die, the rich die, the poor die, the learned die, the illiterate die. So nobody can escape. First of all, this should be accepted that, okay, this body is just one thing. And what we should realize is in this body, there is something, because this is, one has to contemplate a lot. Patanjali answers all these things, but due to short of time, simply put it, there is a witness in all of us. We know all that when we were born, how we are, now how we are, all the changes, there is one witness inside called the Purusha. All other thing is called Prakriti. All that is changing is Prakriti. There is one non-changing thing called Purusha. And if we realize that that is our true nature, Sat Swarupa, Chit Swarupa, Ananda Swarupa, then we know that I am not the person who is going to die. This body is going through all these things, body will go. And as long as we have again attachment to the body, this fear will exist. The only way to overcome the fear is non-attachment even to this body. Very well demonstrated by great people like Sage Ramana, Kanchi Paramacharya, my guru. So they have all demonstrated. That's why our country, we have to be very, very proud, because we have several such luminaries who have illustrated how to lead a wonderful life free of all sorts of fear, ever filled with joy, without any other things. We don't need anything to be in joy. That's what our learned people have taught us. So this is a good question, but the answer is that these fears will be there due to misidentification with body and mind.
Thank you, sir. The next question is from Ms. Bindu Thomas. How to stay focused? How to be organized? Any tips, sir?
Yeah, actually, yes, this is very simple, because we are not focused because we are, our senses are not in control. That's what Vivekananda says, that brahmacharya, that is, your senses should be under control, because senses, especially these days, people are too busy. They don't do anything with attention. We don't actually drink coffee with attention. Drinking coffee can be meditative. People don't do that. While drinking coffee, one hand coffee is going, other hand, the mobile, looking at WhatsApp, that is another screen on your laptop or iPad, you have emails, everything is going on simultaneously. And when nothing comes from your cup, then you realize that, oh, coffee is over. So what has gone in also you have not experienced the aroma, the taste of the coffee, the weight of the cup you are holding, what is tilting, how you are opening the lips, how the coffee is getting in, going on the surface of the tongue, how that vapors are going into the nose, and how you are experiencing the flavor. Nothing is done, and you lose that wonderful experience of drinking coffee. So what I want to tell is that because our sense organs are going in multivarious direction, not just externally, even internally, always thinking of some sort of a pleasure or whatever. So it's always seeking. So mind is not in the present. It is always engaged in the worries of the past and anxieties of the future. Then you will miss the present. The whole life is in present. Bhagavan Ramana puts it very nicely that in reality, past and future does not exist. They all exist only in your mind. That's the truth. And as long as that is there, no focus can come. Swami Vivekananda used to, he had a photographic memory. He could read the Encyclopedia Britannica, tens of volumes. Per day, he used to read one volume. Why? And he could remember everything. And he says this is because he has practiced that brahmacharya, control over the sense organs. There is no shortcut. No other XYZ techniques given will work. This is the technique given by our sages.
Thank you, sir. Any more questions?
Something I see.
Yeah, Dr. Annapurna has just a follow-up comment. It's the fear that our loved ones are also dependent on us, not only the fear of losing.
Yeah, that exactly. Same, isn't it? If you can be non-attached with your own body, then where is all other relationships? They don't come. It is because of misidentification of our true nature with our body, all relations, everything will come. It's a chain reaction. So if we can overcome this, then all other things will carry nothing. All is mother, father, daughter, son, all how? It's all body centric of our own self. So once you come out of that, it does not mean you don't love them. It just means non-attachment. It's a beautiful thing. Then you become more efficient, more wise.
Thank you, sir. Any more questions? I don't see any. So, in case no one has any more questions, I would invite Mrs. Anandi Giridharan, who is the chair of the IEEE Women in Engineering Affinity Group, Bangalore section, and also the branch counselor of the IEEE IC student branch, to thank Dr. Omkar for this insightful talk.
Yeah. Thank you, Aditya. In the meanwhile, if you happen to put this somewhere, please provide the link for this talk so that I can share with my students.
Sure, sir. Sure. I will. Yes. Yeah. So there is one more question here.
Yeah.
Before Anandi ma'am, thanks you. Ms. Sandhya Vasudev is asking for techniques of detachment.
Yeah. You see, why attachment has come? Attachment has come because of avidya, ignorance. So the technique is knowledge. Knowledge of the self will immediately give this detachment or non-attachment. We are all attached because of avidya. We don't know what is nitya, what is anitya, what is pleasure, pain. We are mistaking them, and we are misidentification. That is the cause. So there is no other technique. We have to get that knowledge. For that, yes, there is a path, and we have to go through that path given by sage Patanjali. We need to really get into that state of pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi, where we can go deeper and get this knowledge very clearly. Actually, preparation for knowledge is elaborate, and knowledge itself is very simple. There is no big thing. But for it to settle in, that preparedness, that is the path given by yoga and various other Upanishads. That is really, yes, one has to work for it.
Thank you, sir. Anandi ma'am,
Yes,
are you online?
everyone. Namaskaram, Omkar sir.
Namaste,
Behalf
namaste.
of Women in Engineering Affinity Group, IEEE Bangalore section, and IEEE IASC student branch. Thank you so much for your loving acceptance for conducting this session. We really feel blessed to have learned importance of 6 pillars of life and practices for stress-free life and for good health. Appreciate your time and thank you so much, sir, for your guidance. I would like to thank all the participants of today's event, and I would like to thank Professor Srinivas sir for his consistent motivation. And I would like to thank Chair IEEE Bangalore section Bindu Madhava sir, and also all my Women in Engineering EXI conference. Thank you so much, Aditya, and also Jai Sudha. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all. Namaste.
Thank you, sir. I would like to thank Dr. Omkar again for such an insightful talk and giving all the great examples in the follow-up discussions. And I'm sure all of us will incorporate the learnings from his talk and the following discussion in our lives in these stressful times. In case anyone has any questions, you can forward those questions to me and I'll coordinate with Dr. Omkar to have those answered later.
Most welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, because of these times, we're not able to present a memento of our appreciation to you, but we'll handle that offline, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining and stay safe and healthy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah.